It's April 1989 and Saddam Hussein is visiting the north of Iraq, Kurdistan. Channel 4 News has obtained this exclusive footage taken by one of the Iraqi president's personal cameramen. It shows Saddam looking on top of the world and Kurds desperate to reach him to hand him petitions. This woman has swum across the river with her plea in a plastic bag. We don't know exactly what. Maybe a son missing, a husband arrested. Saddam graciously signs. The father of his people, approachable. Here, let me help you with your cloak. There was a reason for Saddam's broad smile and the Kurds' desperation to ask favours. The year before, Saddam's army had swept through Kurdistan in a campaign against Kurdish rebels, which killed anywhere between 50 and 100,000 men, women and children. Saada Ali lost 8 members of her family, her husband, 2 sons, her daughter-in-law and 5 grandchildren. Her house was bulldozed and her livestock killed. With all her immediate family dead, she's never been able to rebuild her farm and now lives far from her village with an elderly brother-in-law. She blames it all on Saddam.
Just like he destroyed my life and killed my relatives, my hope and wish is that he ends up dead and buried as well. When I see these photos, I just cry. It's just a piece of paper. I can never see the boys or talk to them again.
This was the Anfal campaign. Anfal means spoils of war, and it's a chapter in the Quran about defeating God's enemies. From February to September 1988, 8 military operations attacked areas where guerrillas fighting for Kurdish independence were strongest. The campaign was led by Saddam's cousin, Ali Hassan al-Majid, now on trial alongside him. Thousands of Kurds died in their villages, thousands more in prison camps far away from Kurdistan, buried in mass graves only uncovered after Saddam was overthrown in 2003. Chemical Ali's forces are accused of attacking villages with mustard gas and nerve gas on at least 40 occasions. Channel 4 News' Iraqi news team reached Kaytul, a village at the heart of the 3rd Anfal operation. It was a tough 3-hour drive from the regional capital, Sulaymaniyah, across unmade roads to a farming community that's still dirt poor. Hussein Abdullah Karim was a teenager when the Anfal hit Kaytul. Now he's the prayer leader of the mosque.
On the morning of the 9th of April 1988, the people woke up and found the army all over these hills. There were 7 helicopters. The people started realizing what was going on. The tanks arrived at the village by 11 a.m. The villagers started fleeing. The army then started burning and destroying the village.
Jalal Jabbar Amin was working away from home. An uncle working at a hospital in Tikrit, Saddam Hussein's hometown, tipped him off that the army was heading for Kaytul, and he hurried for home. He got as far as the village of Qadir Karam, where the army and a pro-government Kurdish militia called the Juhush had gathered scores of men arrested as suspected guerrillas. Families were allowed to visit the detainees for 3 days. Then they were trucked away and never seen again.
This is Jamal, my eldest son. I saw him at the police station in Qadir Karam. He was with my other kids. I kissed them all. He used to tell me, we don't know what's going on or what our fate will be, but please save us. This is Kamal, my second son. His wife and 5 of his children were Anfalized. They are missing.
3 of Jalal's 6 sons were taken away and killed. This is where the army bulldozed their houses. And here was Jalal's brother's house. He says his brother and 10 members of his family were killed. There used to be 150 families in this village. Today, just 45. Saada Ali was living in the nearby village of Darawa that April. The army rounded up the villagers and took them to a prison in Kirkuk, the nearest big town. She said the men were taken to one side and stripped of everything they had on, watches, shoes, even clothes. 3 days later, they were all moved to a fortress at Nugra Salman in the desert, far to the southwest.
They tortured us. They tortured us a lot. They had these iron bars which they would tie us to and beat us severely till we would collapse. The worst was what they did to us every morning. We would be taken outside into a field, and we were in the middle of a desert. They would force us to stand facing the sun, and we would stand there all day until sunset, turning to face the sun throughout the day, so that the sun would always be in our eyes. They wouldn't even give us a glass of water. One night, they took all our children, especially the little girls. 3 or 4 hours later, they brought them back. You can't imagine how hard that was for my husband and I. You didn't know what those soldiers were capable of.
It's testimony like this that Saddam will have to listen to in court over the coming weeks. But when he visited Kurdistan in 1989, he was proud of the Anfal. Judging by today's proceedings, Saddam and his cousin's defence will be that they were simply fighting an anti-insurgent campaign, much as American and Iraqi forces are now in Sunni Muslim areas of Iraq. Shino Majid was 7 when she was held in that fortress prison in the desert. She and other people whom Channel 4 News interviewed in Kurdistan said there was no point in putting Saddam on trial for the Anfal campaign.
I blame Saddam Hussein. It's clear and obvious what he's done. It doesn't require a trial. He should just not be executed. He should be shredded into pieces.